Now to our continuing focus on the 12th ASEAN-India Summit, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi is expected to meet his Chinese counterpart today. This will be the Prime Minister's first meeting with his Chinese counterpart. Li Keqiang was among the first world leaders to greet Modi over the phone after he was sworn in as Prime Minister in May this year. He had then pledged to build a robust relationship with Modi's government. The Prime Minister met his Russian counterpart Dmitry Medvedev. He will later meet heads of states of Indonesia and Laos before leaving for Australia for the G20 summit in Brisbane. On Wednesday, Prime Minister Modi addressed the summit and spoke about his Make in India policy and asked leaders to make use of the improved investment and trade environment in the country. He also met with opposition leader Aung San Suu Kyi on the sidelines of the summit. The Prime Minister is currently on a 10-day visit to Myanmar, Australia and Fiji. And Deputy Editor Smita Sharma now joining us live from Myanmar. Smita, we understand that Modi did in fact address the summit. If you can just sort of give us an idea of how that was received by the other leaders.
Yes, well, the East Asia Summit, in fact, which is underway today, which kicked off this morning, for which, of course, all the world leaders, including Shinzo Abe, Barack Obama, China's Li Keqiang, are here in Naypyidaw. We just went through that speech. In fact, Narendra Modi stressing on, the issues that are really challenges for the entire world, not just for India. He did mention that Ebola has, of course, made the world realize that the world needs to come together to fight pandemics of such a size. Also supporting that East Asia Summit statement on Islamic State or ISIS, and saying that for global terrorism, for the fight against global terrorism, all countries really need to come together. Important pointer out there, stress on the fact that all sorts of linkages, any linkages between religion and terrorism must be rejected. Also, once again, mentioning the fact that all maritime laws need to be respected. The UN conventions in terms of maritime space really need to be respected by all and violated by none. This was a statement that was made by him yesterday at the ASEAN and India Summit as well, where he's not named China, but perhaps one could take a hint that he does refer to this region, which has a lot of cooperation scope, but also a lot of conflict and bickering happening over maritime disputes at the moment.
Right, Smita, we also understand the Prime Minister Narendra Modi will in fact be meeting his Chinese counterpart today. Remember, this is going to be viewed as an extremely crucial and significant meeting, considering that he was the first to wish Narendra Modi when he came to power in May, and more importantly, very keen on building a robust and strong relationship with the Indian government.
Absolutely. India, in fact, has had a very sort of a proactive approach vis-a-vis China ever since this new government came into power in May. Of course, with that decisive mandate, Li Keqiang was amongst the first world leaders to really greet Narendra Modi on the phone. Narendra Modi met Xi Jinping along the sidelines, of course, of the BRICS summit in Fortaleza in July. Then Xi Jinping came to New Delhi with that historic visit happening there. A lot of crucial issues being discussed, but most important, of course, are the issues of the boundary controversies, these constant reports of incursions that keep on happening across the line of actual control, despite repeated assurances from the Chinese side, and most of the time they are referred to as simply perception problems. So clearly, with Li Keqiang, this is going to be a structured dialogue which is expected to last close to 45 minutes to an hour, including translation time lost, of course. He will also be again meeting Xi Jinping along the sidelines of the G20 summit in Brisbane, but that will be not so structured. That will essentially focus more so on the India-China relationship in context of BRICS. But today's talks, of course, one would have to wait and see, because with Narendra Modi's constant pitch to the world of Make in India, which is the mantra that he's selling to the ASEAN countries as well, what sort of a cooperation is he further going to expect from China, and also how the two leaders will sit down on the table and ensure that there is peace and stability along the line of actual control.
Smita Sharma, thank you so much for bringing us that update. Remember, we'll continue tracking the Prime Minister's movements, and more importantly, the summit. Narendra Modi will in fact be heading to Australia for the G20 summit post this.